President Wakulla.
Is this Eric? Is this Michael?
There's a switch on the side of the
It's
transmitter.
best if you hold, if you hold the. All right.
Let's do mic check.
Button to turn it on.
You got that?
Yes. Yes. Yes.
Yeah, go ahead and get that ready to power.
Well, let's get started. I'm Bill Snowden, the editor of the Wakulla Sun. Huh?
They're getting their sound in.
Okay. And this is the first of three political forums that we're having. Tonight is property appraiser and candidates for sheriff. I was going to go over the rules. I've gone over the rules with the candidates all individually, but we're going to start with the candidates are allowed that they introduce themselves. They have 2 minutes to do that. We'll ask questions, and then go back and forth between who's first. Those will be 2 minutes. It's something a little different. We're doing, they can do a rebuttal. Just give us some sort of a sign that you want to rebut what your opponent has said, and you will have 1 minute to do a rebuttal, and then the other candidate will have a minute to do a rebuttal as well. And at the end, in close, we will have a 2 minute close. Okay? So let's start with, the incumbent. First, you want to do the introduction, and you have 2 minutes. And our timekeeper is Heather, and she's going to give, say, 10 seconds when you're getting 10 seconds.
Okay, can everyone hear me with this whole setup here? All right, my name is Ed Brimner, and as they said, I'm the incumbent here. I've been in the office now for about 3.5 years. It's been the greatest honor of my life to serve Wakulla County as a property appraiser, and I appreciate the honor of doing so. Just a little bit about myself. I was born here. Well, actually, I was born in Tallahassee, but I got here within 3 days. So I was born and raised here, basically here in Wakulla County. I was raised up around Wakulla Station. Ended up graduating from Wakulla High School. Joined the military straight out of high school. Spent 4 years, 10 months, and 3 days in the military. Got out. Went to Florida State. I graduated from Florida State, went back in the military. I jumped the fence. I enlisted when I was 18, jumped the fence, went back in as a lieutenant, and retired after 20 years, total 20 years in the military, and came back home. Since I've been home, I've been active in the community. I got a real estate license. Found out I really did not enjoy selling real estate. That was not my calling. And I got an opportunity to become an appraiser. So I've got a state license. I'm a state certified general real estate appraiser. I like to say that I can appraise anything from the outhouse to the White House. And you know, that's a lot of school and a lot of experience to get that. And I did that for several years, and then the opportunity came up to run for property appraiser, and I became a property appraiser here. And I think that's pretty much my life in a thumbnail sketch.
Okay. Donnie?
Y'all hear me okay?
Yes, sir.
I'm Donnie Sparkman. I'm the retired Wakulla County property appraiser. Married to the former Rita Tully of my wife, going on 54 years. Born and raised here, but I've lived other places. My father was in the Navy, and we traveled off and on some. I have 47 years plus experience dealing with the properties in Wakulla County. 23 years as a registered surveyor with Edward Brown Associates. I have 3 years as the planning and zoning director of Wakulla County. I have 21 years working in the property appraiser's office, of which a little over 10 years was the property appraiser. I'm a veteran of the Vietnam War, having served with the 199th Flight Infantry Brigade. All 3 of my sons are veterans of the Iraq War, so public service is in our blood. I believe in treating people with dignity and respect. I want people to treat me like I want, or treat them like I want to be treated. I appreciate your support on August 20th. Thank you.
Okay. Let's go to this one. We'll start with Donnie Sparkman. Why are you coming out of retirement to run again for office?
We'll start with a bang, aren't you? There's 3 or 4 reasons. One, I've never seen in the 20-something years I've had a mistake as large as was made. I've talked to property appraisers around the state, they've never seen that. I agree that anybody can make a mistake, that it takes more than one set of eyes, but the fact that we call it a fat finger mistake and blame the employee, no, it's the property appraiser that's in charge of that office. He takes the blame for it. I've watched probably over 80 years of experience in that office be run off one way or the other. It just bothers me. I put a little over 10 years producing tax rolls in there. We were a model county for small rural counties through the Department of Revenue whenever I was there. Since that time, the last 2 years, there's been 2 letters of advisement for selective appraisal, which in layman's terms is sales chasing. And I'm pretty sure you're going to see another one this year. I don't understand it. It takes more than one set of eyes to look at it, you can catch it. Thank you.
Yeah, the question I was going to ask is dealing with that, but if you want to go ahead and respond, the $300 million mistake that led to $2 million shortfall for the county and $1 million shortfall for the school board, the question is going to be how do you prevent that in the future? How did that happen and how do you prevent it?
Yeah, I absolutely reject the idea that I do not accept responsibility for that mistake. That absolutely was a mistake that I accept full responsibility for. To my knowledge, an employee was never put on the spot about that mistake. That was a mistake that our office made, and the reason we made it is there was not a process in place to look at every single split of a property, and this particular lot, and it was a fat finger mistake. Nobody in the world thought that this little 50 by 100 lot was worth $304 million. Nobody. It was worth about $7,500. And somewhere or another that got put in there. Now, I also will say that this was a mistake that did not cost Wakulla County 1 penny. It did not cost the county 1 penny. Now, the county was prepared to spend the income that they thought was coming from this, and they did have to, as soon as we found it, we notified every person that was responsible for the budgets. We alerted them to it. They did have to juggle their budget and not spend money that they thought they were going to get that they ended up not getting. But it did not cost the county 1 penny to do this. It was very inconvenient, very embarrassing, and I assure you there are multiple layers of oversight that's to prevent it from happening again. I'm sorry with that.
How to prevent it?
Oh, yeah, we just got several layers of oversight. No single person now will be able to make a change without someone else being able to cause that.
Okay. Ed, the next question is something that Donnie has already brought up. The Department of Revenue has issued post-audit report letters for 2022 and 2023 finding selective reappraisals, known as sales chasing. The DOR letter reported differences in values between sold and unsold properties of around 9%. What measures are in place to make the necessary corrections?
Okay, well, what we're talking about here is a complicated thing, but in order to find value of property, this office is tasked with providing the market value of properties. Now, you can, as an office, you can focus your time on making sure that the statistics that DOR gives are correct, or you can make sure that the building characteristics are correct. If all your building characteristics are correct, then the statistics will follow along and it'll show the correct data. However, our county, throughout the county, if what our field evaluator put into the system is wrong, everything else is wrong. If you don't have that base down correct, everything else is wrong. And our field guys would go out, and they were not looking at all the property. They were just looking at, there's still a 1,500 square foot house there in the same way last time. They did not look at other aspects of the house. They did not look, has this house been renovated? Does this house have sheet vinyl flooring, or has someone gone in and replaced that flooring with a tile or hardwood or now vinyl? They weren't picking up those sorts of things. And now, as a house is sold, one of the things we can do, when you sell your house, you put it in the public, what's your house look like on the inside? What kind of renovations have you done? And so we're able to pick that up. And we are picking that up. And so that house is then assessed correctly. Now, what we're not doing is saying, oh, wow, this house in Songbird has been renovated and sold for $390,000, so we're going to raise the value of all the other houses in the subdivision to match that so that we don't get tagged by the ORS sales chasing.
You're out of time.
Okay.
Donnie,
I'd like to speak on that. I don't understand how for, I know 14 years, there was no problem with that, so evidently we were marking the houses like they should have been marked. Why all of a sudden did they become marked wrong and create this problem? That doesn't make sense to me. It's mass appraising, not fee appraising, and you have to look at a group of properties alike. The sales contribute to what a group of properties are worth, and that's what you work at. I don't understand how it can all of a sudden there was that problem starting to happen when it hadn't happened before.
If I could rebut that just for a moment. We are mass appraising. However, in mass appraisals, if you have a house that you got some sales that are high, if you just want to mass every other house, raise their values to match what the recent sales are, you will be over-assessing people because some of those houses still have sheet vinyl. Some of those houses still have problems that aren't, but if you just go in and raise everything, and that is the importance of our field guys going out and looking at each one of these houses, which they must do at least once every 5 years. And they're in the process of doing that now. There's been a lot of additional training given to our field guys so that they know what to look for and the correct questions that they ask the homeowners.
Okay. Tom, you have 1 minute if you want to rebut. The issue of Brad Harvey, he succeeded Donnie as property appraiser, and Ed took over after the debacle of his tenure. I don't know, do you want to say, Donnie, do you want to say anything about Brad's time as property appraiser?
Sure. I mean, I did not hire Brad. Brad was there when I got elected. Brad, even after he got elected, after I left office, the tax roll he was producing was satisfying revenue. He had sticky fingers, yes, but the roll that was being done was correct. But you had 80+ years of experience in there doing an awful lot of that work too. If you lost that, it's just unbelievable what you lost. You can't find somebody on the street corner that can come in and all of a sudden starts doing that. It takes training and it takes years of experience. But what he was doing was above and beyond producing the tax roll. But he wasn't doing it while I was property appraiser. I know that. Thank you.
Mr. Sparkman did not hire Mr. Harvey. However, Mr. Sparkman promoted Mr. Harvey. Mr. Sparkman supported Mr. Harvey when Mr. Harvey was running for property appraiser. In fact, Mr. Harvey there were lots of little issues that were evident prior to him ever becoming property appraiser that Mr. Sparkman overlooked. And I think that it was the culture of the office that bred Mr. Harvey. And Mr. Harvey just, when he became the property appraiser, he just continued the same culture that was in that office prior to him being there. The office is more than just putting out a tax roll. The office is protecting the money of the citizens of Wakulla County and protecting every penny that's spent as if it's your own money. I have a saying that folks in my office get tired of hearing. What would Miss Carroll want to do with this money?
May I?
Yes, you can.
I don't think I promoted Mr. Harvey. Mr. Harvey, I think, had the same position when I got there. He was handling the finances and whatnot. I didn't promote him above that. What he done after I left, he wasn't doing while I was there. Like I said, he still, even though he was taking money, he produced a tax roll like he was supposed to. I mean, it was two different things. Whatever.
I'm going to go from one that's not on the list. In this week's Sun, there's a story about the appraisal letters from DOR. Mr. Brimner, you sent me a statement this morning in reply to that didn't make it into the paper. But you alleged that Mr. Sparkman, when he was in office, was undervaluing, it appears, commercial properties. Can you expand on that?
I will. One of the things we're supposed to do as property appraisers is evaluate according to market value. In 2012, there was a property that sold in Wakulla County for $1,008,400. This is a clear indication of market value. This is what someone paid for this property. Mr. Sparkman assigned the property value of this at $203,682, or 20% of the purchase price. Now, you never assign the same price as what it sold for, because you reduce by appraisal costs, that sort of thing. By 2020, Mr. Harvey had increased this to $220,732. Today, 2023, that was increased to $558,032, or 153% more than what it was in 2022. Another example is a property sold for $650,000. It was assessed at $259,000. Another one, it sold for $370,000. So the problem with this is when these properties are under-assessed, it's good for the person that gets the under-assessment, but guess who has to pick up the slack? Miss Carroll and every other person who owns a piece of property in Wakulla County. Those millage rates have to be higher so that the county can raise the funds necessary to operate. And that falls on the people least able to pay those fees. And you have to treat every single property completely impartially and assess them correctly.
I find it hard to believe that you're having problems appraising property now, but you can go back to 2012 and appraise it. One, you gotta look at the sale. That sale may have included inventory you don't know. I don't know what property you're talking about, but there might be more to the sale than what you think. But what it sold for then and what it's worth now is totally two different things.
Got a vote on that? The difference between the and I, in 2023, there was this property that sold for $2,129,700. And we assessed it at $1,632,834. We did take out the TPP, the tangible personal property. We subtracted that from the sale because that would be double taxation. I would say this, when we increased all those assessments in 2023, not a single one of those businesses came to us and said, hey, you're over assessing us. Not a single one did. They paid the taxes without a single complaint because they knew that they were getting a very, very positive assessment in the past.
Mr. Sparkman, do you want to rebut that? Okay. The next question is for Mr. Brimner from a reader that was submitted on the new appraisal system. It said, what led you to enter into a contract with Vision, a CAMA provider, which had to be abandoned and a subsequent contract with CSA entered into? There's two parts to the question. What was the problem with the first system, and what was the additional cost for the second system?
The problem with the first system, I wanted our field appraisers to be able to take an iPad and go into the field and do their job on an iPad. That was a hard stop for me. If the system that we bought could not do that, I was not even interested in looking at it. And there's a bunch of reasons. Vision said they could do it. And that in fact, their system was the best system for that. However, when it came time for them to actually come in and convert what was in our system to their system, they couldn't do it. They just couldn't do it. So we had to abandon that whole contract. And we went with a new contract, GSA, and when they came in, and it was shocking, within 2 weeks, they had the conversion done, and it was done within 2% accuracy. It was a super deal. They've got the system here. It did cost the county $50,000 to make that transition. But it was well worth the money. I mean, sometimes you go somewhere and it just doesn't work and you have to pull out of it. So there was a cost. Don't hold to exactly the penny, but about $50,000 cost. That we tried to do it, they couldn't do the job, and we had to transition to GSA.
Mr. Sparkman?
I think you were advised by qualified employees and personnel not to go with that first system because there was only 2 other counties, I think, in the state that had tried and they had not been able to convert. Also, I think they told you that a third-party provider could give you the laptops that you're looking for. If other counties' property appraisers officers are having problems with them, you don't want to go there.
That's not quite correct. I was advised to go with the one we eventually went with, who at the time I was looking at did not have a field appraiser app, and they could not, there was not a third party that could do that. So I was advised to go with them. I chose not to because at that time they did not have a field app ready to be filled. There are multiple counties in Florida that have used Vision. They just hadn't made the transition from the old CAMA system, the old computer system, mass appraisal system that we were using, which was a dinosaur. They had not made that transition and they just couldn't do it. And so that's why we're having transition.
Mr. Sparkman, do you want to? To answer your question, and we'll start with Mr. Sparkman. How will you ensure that your office adheres to the highest professional and ethical standards in property appraisal?
Right now, you can start over because when I left, just I think maybe one in my office was certified by the Department of Revenue. Like I said, I had over 80 years of experience working in there. And since that time, now you've got to start over to build that. But it takes qualified people, more than one set of eyes looking at something, and you need to check. It's not something that you can just go by in a heartbeat. It's going to take time to build it back. With an experience like that, you don't find them on the street. Because once the people find a job, they stay there. And it's just a shame to lose that and ruin people's lives like was done.
Mr. Brimner?
When I walked in the office, there were literally garbage bags full of shredded material. The guy, Mr. Harvey had spent a weekend with other employees in there shredding documents so that when I walked into the office, I had exactly zero history from how the property had been used. The chief appraiser had retired in October before I came in January. Soon after I came in, the chief tax roll specialist quit. The prior mapping specialist was suing the office to overturn the election. It was a mess. It was a mess in the office. What I have done is came in, now no single person gets to approve expenditures, spend the money, and approve the payment of those expenditures. There is multiple people looking at every single purchase, all the way from a box of pens to the camera system. There's multiple people looking at every single purchase. Ethics in our office is absolutely top of mind, and I think that if you ever come into our office, you'll get super service and great. You'll know that these folks here are treating everyone ethically and treating every single person exactly the same.
Last question, then, before we get closed, do you have any specific initiatives or programs in mind to educate property owners about the appraisal process and their rights? For you, Ed.
Okay. One of the things I've done ever since I've gotten on board was I've tried to outreach to the public. In fact, one of the things that we've done is we've literally reached out to folks that we think might be eligible for a homestead. In fact, in 2020, there were 514 homesteads, new homesteads in the county. 2021, that jumped up to 663. 2022, 780. 2023, 851. And this year we did something a little different. I actually went and compared the site address with the mailing address, and I said, these folks that have the same site address, mailing address, but they don't have a homestead, do they know? So we started reaching out. We actually have found people, the furthest back we found somebody that should have had a homestead that didn't was from 2005. They have lived in Wakulla County since 2005, did not have a homestead, and we're reaching out for that. One of the things I would like to do is to have something, I've seen a couple of other counties that do this, have a lunch and learn, and come in and have a lunch and learn, invite folks in and talk to them about the myriad of things, all the exemptions, the ag classifications, all the things, all the way that they can come in and reduce their tax bill.
Mr. Sparkman.
I used to write articles every month. Used to be the Magnolia Monthly, and I wrote other articles. I spoke to civic organizations and realtor organizations explaining anything they need to know about it. That's probably the biggest problem you run into with the public is they come into office, they're upset, but they don't really know what the question is. They don't know what the problem is. And you have to, one, you got to be a great listener, because that's the way. I've had numerous people, Jay, that just appreciate you listening to them, even though you couldn't do what they wanted. But it's, education's a tough part for the people, but just you continue to keep trying to do that.
Okay, and let's move to the close. Mr. Sparkman, you go first, and then Mr. Frank.
I'll say it again, I've got 47 years experience dealing with properties, 20 plus in the property appraiser's office, of which a little over 10 as property appraiser. We never had a problem. We were a model county for the Department of Revenue for small counties, what we were doing. I just feel like it's some of this stuff that we've talked about tonight, really, it's an opinion of one or the other. The main thing is try to help the people. You work for the property owners of the county. You don't work for the county commission. You don't work for revenue. Your job is to look at, you're the voice for the property owners, I've always prided myself in doing that. I'm a certified appraiser through the Department of Revenue for mass appraisal. I have the experience, and I appreciate your support. Thank you.
First of all, I'm in trouble with my wife. I did not mention her in the opening, and so I would like to thank my wife for being here with me. I also did not mention my children. I've got a son that's in the Army. He's currently serving. He's a helicopter pilot in the Army. And so in the beginning there, I should have mentioned that. Immediately after Mr. Sparks went like that, I should have mentioned my wife and kids. I meant to do that. It has been an honor serving as a property appraiser. I'm not going to sit here and say that things are perfect. They're not. But I'll guarantee you that if you come into if you think that your house is assessed higher, your property is assessed higher than it should be, come in and let's talk. We will fix whatever the problem is, if there's a problem. You come in, if you ask one question, one of the things we attempt to do is to not just answer your question, but to really read into your question and ask and think, what are you really asking? Because the typical person does not understand all the nuances of real estate. And we attempt, for every person that walks through that door, we want them to leave knowing that they got the best service possible, and that we not only just answered their question, but we went beyond that, and we're attempting to ensure that they're paying as few taxes as is legally possible. And that's our goal, is to have accurate, honest, impartial assessment of every single property in the county.
Okay. One more thing, this is the first time, and I can never recall, that both property appraisal candidates have a record. Look at the record, compare the record, and make your decision.
Mr. Brimner, you want to?
I totally agree with that. You have two incumbents to the same office here. You can look at the results of those for both of us and make a decision. And believe me, whatever the decision is, I will live with it.
Thank you both for being here this evening. I appreciate both of you. Thank you. Take about a 5 or 10 minute break just to reset up. There's cookies for Dallas and everybody else can share. And water.